All right. Well, we'll get started then. Thank you for coming. And because you're interested in master gardening, we're many master gardeners here in the presence here tonight. My family that came to support me, and I need lots of support. I am really, all of the people know that I'm relatively high maintenance. We're thankful that you come out, especially on this subject. This is a subject that I'm pretty passionate about, and I wanted to encourage you that if you would like a copy, if you're welcome to take a picture of the slides, but I can't provide you this particular presentation. Normally, I would try to I did that last month when I was here. I think I sent you my presentation. But it's only because we have this wonderful lady in our organization and also a member of the Native Plant Society who put this together, and we're going through this photo use situation thing that all our members are aware of. But there's some really great pictures in here, and you know, when we came up with this series of subjects that we wanted to talk about, we offered the library essentially about 8 programs that they could choose from what they might like in an August through November timeframe. So, you know, hopefully if you don't throw me out on my ear tonight, you know, there's somebody will be back in October and maybe November on another couple of subjects. And tonight they're also streaming this live, and it's what we did last month too. I think you.
Yes. So if anyone would like a recording of last month's presentation, we do have it up on our YouTube channel at Krum Public Library. Sorry, youtube.com/Krum Public Library. You can also find it on their Facebook and website. This will also be posted later this afternoon or early tomorrow morning. Again, we won't have a copy of the slides provided by the Master Gardeners, but we'll have something similar.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're welcome to stop me at any point to ask you questions. I will warn you that there are a lot of slides. There are a lot of slides. There's 53 slides. And so I'm going to move relatively quickly because you're gracious enough to spend your time and probably like to go home and eat dinner. It's those little small things that interrupt our daily life. But I just, again, feel free to take a photograph, and there's going to be some resources at the end of the room that you'll want to take a photograph of, so you can know how to go on the web, look up some additional information. And then I have also, you might help me and let everyone have a little copy of our brochure and a card. It's got a QR code on that card. You may or may not know that we have a free gardening magazine that we publish, the Denton County Master Gardeners publish every month on the first day of the month. It's written by Master Gardeners. Very colorful, nice, it's free. No, it's online. But it definitely has, hi Nancy, look at, oh my goodness. Look here, another Master Gardener. I told you, they know I need lots of help.
So we need ours. They have not sent them, they do not have not sent them.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay. So, what do we want to talk about natives? Well, let me tell you, there's really one incredibly compelling argument about native plants, and that is they can tolerate this incredibly mean environment that we produce every summer, right? They're very drought tolerant. They use less water. And look, you can have, most people conceive of natives as being unkept, right? That the yards will look raw or look like a field. That's not true. You know, and hopefully if I had one aspiration for what you learned tonight, that would be the aspiration, that there are great plants that you could use out there and employ in your own landscapes that could tolerate and enjoy these kind of summers and save your water, quite frankly, natives. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is. My only commercial advertisement of the entire evening is about the Denton County Master Gardeners. Who are we? We are, let me be really clear about this and quite tactful. We are not a garden club. We don't meet and just have lunch and talk about plants. We have volunteered in 2024 over 40,000 hours in gardens all across Denton County. We have educational programs. We do library programs like we're doing here tonight, all across the county. So there's many, many activities that go on. And this year, through the end of June, we'd already volunteered 26,000 hours. Okay. We have a garden tour every year somewhere in Denton County. Last year it was in Denton. Next year it's going to be down in Carrollton. In 2027 it's going to be in Argyle. And then we have a plant sale, a very robust plant sale that's held at the fairgrounds at Denton's. And it's really our only fundraiser. And the sale lasts, it's designed to last all day, but it lasts about 4 hours because we sell out our plants. We have plants grown by Master Gardeners. We have nursery plants that are sold at a reduced price. They're very good quality plants. We have a variety of programs you see here. We have not only the Speakers Bureau, which I'm certainly a part of, the Ask a Master Gardener series, where you might see at a fair or a public event, Red Bud Festival. We're going to be at Peterbilt in another couple of weeks, right? I think is for a event they're doing. We have a landscape class that we teach called Earthkind. There are a variety of seed libraries spread in Flower Mound. I think there's also one in Louisville, also Denton. Children's program. We contribute to a junior Master Gardener program through our league, and we have a help desk, and that on the card and brochure tells you a little bit about the help desk. Lots of things. All those services are free, and plus we're conducting. When I mentioned those projects that we do, we have in excess of 40 projects that we're working on at a given time, and about just a little bit over 300 members. So it's pretty good sized organization. So native plants have lots of, I mentioned one of those, less water, certainly drought tolerant. They generally have fewer pest and disease problems, which is really important. Good evening. Oh, welcome back. Thanks. Good to see you again. Appreciate you coming. But they also support wildlife. And when people, most gardeners, that's not a word they want to hear, wildlife. Wildlife in your garden sometimes don't mix, but I can assure you, if you're not producing something that you'll eat, you're producing something to take with it. So somebody's getting the benefit of your work. And, one of the things that's interesting in North Texas is our climate is much different from South Texas, right? We see more of the extremes in temperature. You can't I can't see that. Think about Winter Storm Uri, what we all went through in the cold weather of Uri. But we also had some, it was incredibly hot today. The sun, it's really amazing. But, this is a map that kind of demonstrates the vegetation areas across the state. And we're in what's called the cross timbers and prairies, that's in Denton County, which is right in there. And it's important to mention that only because a lot of the soils that we have, as you know, are just loaded with clay. It's just so much fun to dig in. It presents a challenge, allows you to develop your muscles, bring a sweat, perspire, those great things that show up. But the North Texas geology is really unique because if I go back to that map a little bit, you can see how kind of very diverse it is here in the North Texas area. So we have to deal with that. One of the real strengths about native plants that most people value and has been really extensively researched and studied is the root systems of those plants. Native plants, you hear us talk about, you see all these advertisements about waterless, y'all, is one of those things, and there's a program with the EPA. I just took a certification exam a couple of weeks ago in what a water sense, and just water is so challenging for our particular area. One, because we have this very dynamic population of people moving to the area, right? But it's also because of that growth and because of the extremes in climate, is why we use so much water. I should tell you now at this point, I am a licensed irrigator, so I know something about irrigation. And I want to tell you, if you're looking for a way to save water, native plants should be on your agenda to do that. But you notice in these root systems that some of these get quite deep. I know that slide is really difficult to see, but take, for example, I just want to point out, there's a series of native plants, but I want to point out what that is right there. That's Bermuda grass. You see how shallow those roots are. And I'll confess to you, I will concede this. The roots are not shallow if you're the one digging them out. They're anything but, because they're very resistant to coming out. But you see, the nice thing about these seed fruits is they're able to penetrate that clay. And when they penetrate that clay, they break that clay up and allows moisture down there. And so that's one of the reasons is they get that depth and root, they get stronger, they're able to sustain these higher temperatures that we experience. So I want this particular picture is hard to see, and they were so kind to buy some grapes to put up here and block some of this out. But the birds eat the insects who eat the plants is essentially what that's trying to communicate. So if you're not seeing insects in your yard, you may not be, in eating plants, may not be sustaining the landscape, right? And so we like to think in the native plant side of things, we like to think about that we're contributing something back to the environment, right? So that have birds and things do that. But since birds obtain more than 85% of their nutrition by eating those things, it's quite, it's pretty amazing. But they also eat those wonderful things we do. And Liz has this wonderful picture. It's really hard to see, but you can notice over in this one area, nothing's eating this, but this has got kind of legs and little chomps where caterpillars have ate through this, and it just illustrates kind of the difference of what we're talking about. Native plants, because they're sustainable and they can withstand these very challenging conditions, they are quite different from what we think of the conventional landscapes. Conventional meaning they're very high demanding in fertilizer. They require a lot of attention, maybe much more attention to maintain that manicured look. They may produce annual flowers, but they also attract pesticides, the need to employ and use pesticides and others. And so you see these types of developments just virtually anywhere. But then when you start thinking about a sustainable environment, you can have components that allow you to feature certain plants in your landscape that are very attractive. They kind of have a lot of curb appeal and attention getting. They're reduced maintenance. And to a good extent, they're self-composting, meaning that you may be able to let them stay natural and tall and lanky and kind of unappealing through the winter because they feed wildlife and they feed the birds and things. But then early spring comes, you can cut those back, and then they're going to be right there to serve you because of those great fruits. And then we like to think of a concept that we call integrated pest management, and that is using the absolute minimal amount pesticides or herbicides. We want to use the least toxic, least invasive method first. And we work our way down there. And surprisingly, as you see that, I'm so sorry you can't see this well, but here, this is a really interesting, some people can really, are really fascinated with natives, and they kind of go all in, like this home picture in Plano, right? I mean, largely, and then you can have more the modest approach that I think about, excuse me, to go back, where you look at a home right here, those are all natives in those beds, and they're quite easy to. No, I don't think so. I'm not. But as we look at these difference, I mean, there's lots of diverse styles. So you see in native plants something, well, the size of these, for example, can, obviously be very attractive, a focal point, a striking point, but you can also have a great deal of modesty when you're looking here, right? I mean, where it's very conventional. And we're going to show you some plant names here in a minute. You'll get a chance. These photographs were taken by Carol Feldman, who's also a big Native Plant Society member. But as people, one of the first things about this phase when I go through this presentation, people ask us, but I don't see a lot of native plants at Callaway's or something. Well, there's a reason for that, right? What is that reason? What do you think that reason is? Well, you might be shopping at the wrong spot. Might be number one, right? Here we have Painted Flower Farm, who's just right down the road, 280, University, right? I mean, just on the west side, who carry a lot of native plants. But I'll tell you, natives are undersold. They're not really, people don't understand them. There's some incredible books, we'll reference some of those. But, if you're like my wife, this is the only safe place I can talk about my wife, she's not here. My wife loves gardens, but she doesn't want to do anything to maintain those, right? And she would go to a box store and she would see what was blooming at the time and said, oh, why can't we have that? Well, we can have it. Mine just shows up because I planted it 2 years ago and we've been walking past it every year. And maybe I don't trim it up as.
Some of the reasons for the native plants harder to find, maybe, is it harder to propagate them or start some of those more?
No.
Because it seems like some things seem to be ignored more than other things.
Yeah. We did some presentations on propagation, and propagation that was a fascinating subject, right? Because you'd be surprised how much you can grow and exploit your own plants and root those. Which really, I think is propagation almost always comes up in these sessions because somebody sees something they like and they said, well, I don't really hear much about that. Well, I'm gonna tell you, our master gardeners at our plant sales, right? My colleagues here can tell you a lot of those are master gardener plants that have been propagated and sold. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Is kind of what I'm trying to suggest here. And so here, this is where we kind of get to see some of these different plants. And I kind of want to point some of these out. There's a cigar plant is what they're talking over here. And this taller, I so apologize, you can't see that better, but then there is this Gulf muley. You've seen that, Pete, or you're quite familiar. Lantana is quite popular in our.
I was going to ask if that's a native plant.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Yes, it is.
How tall is that movie in Coreopsis? It looks tall there.
It is. It's about 30 inches, 30 inches to 3.
Okay.
And a little bit of that is overgrown. Some of these are overgrown, but I think that's kind of one of the appeals, frankly, is that when it is overgrown like that, it gets mature and it's really, I have, at home, I have some fall asters, I'm gonna show you some in just a minute, that are, they're coming. They're coming. Now, my gosh, I cut those things back at the end of June, it's knee high, and they're literally, and they're gonna be, I think they're gonna be absolutely beautiful this year. Mine really look, I'm excited to see those. So the question becomes about how to really get started. And, there's always opportunities in your landscape, not just in spring, right? We all think about, because we've been holed up in winter, right? You want to get out there and do something in the yard and get something growing. You can do that year round, actually. And fall is a great time to plant. But, a lot of people that I speak to, like I say, I was in Maine last week, and they have seasons in Maine, something I don't know much about where we live, right? But they have these lush gardens, but by the same token, they're saying, yeah, you get them for about 4 or 5 months of the year, and that's really it. But they are quite beautiful, and they're stunning. I mean, really, I saw some allium, and it's just incredible. But so you can replace dead plants there. You can look for opportunities to move from an annual plant, and those are the things that you just go shopping and buy and get to just enjoy for that short period of time. Or, a nice small way to start is really at this last bullet, and just begin to add some understory plants. They can they're shade tolerant, and you can begin, you can really begin to do some things. This particular picture involves some daylilies in a mailbox in spring, but let me show you how well they coexist with some fall asters there, right? So you have not only color in the spring, but you have color to look forward to that shows up in the fall.
In the asters, the lilies are down.
Yeah, they are, and that's the one I was talking about. If you don't cut those, a colleague of Gary and I that work on a project of ours, Linda Hay, tells me that the rabbits eat her fall asters just beyond belief. But they don't even touch mine. I don't know why well, it might be because mine are out in an open area, wide open area, and I live down in Double Oak, and we have a lot of hawks that are hungry for rabbits and things, so they're not gonna get out there too. But these are very durable, and they're lush and green throughout the year, but they just bloom in the fall, but they're very attractive.
Jeff, do you keep yours, cut it back until, did you say June?
I did to the end of June. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
You do
About
this?
July is the last time.
I'm very troubled about those because they have grown so tall, but I think they're going to be really prolific this year. I think they're going to really be bright. And Linda Hay gave me, my plants came from Linda. She gave me 2 4-inch pots 2 years ago, and I have a lot, 2 of these tables in square feet. It's just going to be really just loaded with, they're going to be amazing.
Would you like to keep them trimmed back until a certain time to quality the blooms?
They have a tendency to get kind of like this, and if you keep them trimmed down until, the first part of July or so, they won't get so tremendously,
Because I know it slows down in the heat too.
They're pretty robust, even during the heat.
okay, just get more concentrated.
Your blooms, that's right, the blooms are quite more concentrated. But it's one you can really enjoy. I particularly like mine where it's at because I like the green, that color, even though it doesn't bloom. But I'll tell you, I was a little worried when, because they seem to start really, really slow, but they're really robust now. And we've had a we've been really fortunate in terms of rainfall. I mean, we really, we've won the lottery. These are the conventional vines that people talk a lot about. You find it, I saw some, Chinese wisteria 2 weeks ago, which I'm surprised, as well as English ivy, and that English ivy is sometimes viewed as invasive, right? But it can be very, very aggressive. But there are some incredible sustainable natives. I know this climbing prairie rose, there's a Carolina giant jasmine, a coral honeysuckle. Check your picture. If you can't see that, you're welcome to get up there and take another picture or even a screenshot of mine. But there is a Texas wisteria, Virginia creeper. One of our homes on our garden tour this year is happens to be was in Denton, and their entire 2-acre landscape is just flooded with Virginia creeper. And they have a very diverse planting. They have 8 raised beds, vegetable gardens. They have 22 fruit trees. They have 3 rose beds with 150 varieties of roses in that bed. Yes, they do have, they have 2 acres and they have a big tree carving, of wildlife in this tree carving on this property. It's really good. But
When is that?
that garden tour occurs on a Saturday before Mother's Day every year. Yeah, so it's a great time. But there's also a cross vine that is on there, a really nice native that you can enjoy, and all of those are very sustainable. You can see some pictures here. I know it's the time will change and it'll be darker in this room. But the crossvine is also attracts a lot of pollinators, which is nice too. And then there's pictures of the coral honeysuckle and the Texas wisteria. I feel like I'm just throwing these at you guys so fast, but there's so many slides that I want you to kind of have a chance to see some of those. This always, this is the speed bump in my presentation. and I'll tell you why. This is where most people stop me and they really want to talk about this because, and I think it's a propensity, and I should confess, I'm guilty of this already, is they're unhappy with their shrubs, right? And you think about if you were at 335 Thornhill and Double Up, you see that the property owner there is not aggressive enough with his shrubs, and some of those are overgrown, and then I get out there and lop them to pieces, and they look terrible. But it seems that everybody is looking for something. Not that we don't like flowers, they're looking for some kind of sustainable shrub that maybe doesn't, that is not look like every other cookie cutter home in a development. And, I even had the dreaded red tip photinias that shield my electric meter right in a place it provides good screening, but it should come with a ladder because you need to have a ladder if you have red tips, and you need to be on your ladder multiple times a year because they just will grow. And I am a really big fan of roses, and I've had pretty good luck with azaleas, and that. But there are some other opportunities here that we can talk about. One that's the first one up there, the American Beautyberry. I have a small pollinator garden that I built in my backyard. It's 4x12, and so that's the focal component in there is that beautyberry, and it has wonderful lush green leaves, and those, some have the blackberry, some have not have the kind of those deep pink. And the birds love that, you know, they really do love that, and they enjoy the, I like those birds being there because they like the mosquitoes. They love to eat mosquitoes. Coral berry is another one that's on here. I think there's a picture that pops up, yeah, for that. Autumn sage, I have that as well. There are lots of varieties of yellow pine hollies, but dwarf seems to be really popular. One, because of its durability, but two is because you don't really have to be too aggressive about keeping it trimmed and cut back in a fashion you would like it. And we have a lot of red yucca area farrows, don't we? I mean, there's quite a bit planted there. And that's one that can be propagated fairly easy. Literally, you could just go out there, dig it up, cut it in half, put it right back in the ground. It never knows you were there. It just keeps digging and it keeps going. But in the scrub area, this is things typically that people. Rock rose is another one. I don't think I saw a rock rose in this particular slide deck. The autumn sage though is that salvia greggii is really great. But there are good choices there that look through your these Texas sage pictures. And look, if you let your salvia, just let it go. I have some that's about that high right now. You know, and I was very resistant last year to cut that back. I was cutting that back like in October, right after it's like its beauty. And in doing that, I found 2 bird nests in there. And so I said, okay, that ended my got that. So I learned my lesson a little bit about that, but those are really beautiful. And one of the things, Liz Moyer, the lady who developed this presentation, she's just a huge native plant enthusiast. And she's always encouraging almost everybody. I spent quite a bit of time with her and I do some volunteer work with her husband, is that she is all about just try something new. Just that we get kind of in that rut and we see something we like or somebody has something we like. It's like, I want one of those. I want to get one of those for my yard. And we have a saying that the best fertilizer is the gardener's shadow, right? That just tending your plants, just going out there and tending and it's very therapeutic. I don't want to deny that, but sometimes I'm reluctant to try something new until I've seen it, mature or grow in a landscape that I really know what to expect that it's going to do. Boy, Liz, I drove by Liz's yard today, and she has color in her yard every month of the year. She's on a nice corner lot there in Flower Mound, and it's just.
I think it's in the slide real good with the red deck. Are those ones you see like in McDonald's and all the. And I've talked to. That's funny you should bring McDonald's up because I talked to a gentleman, a landscape designer, who was at the McDonald's. He and I started a conversation. I was trying to just get a glass of tea in the drive-up window. And he saw my truck and he saw my license. I had my irrigation license on the side of my truck. And he saw that and he says, and I had just come from an event. I had my Master Gardener badge on. And so he was out there and he said, pull in here and stop, and he said, and so we had about a 15-minute conversation. And I said, oh, you guys really like red yucca. And he says, it's the only thing that can tolerate that crazy heat zone of all that pavement around there, right? That's so when you think about that, I mean, I'm a master gardener. I should know that, right?
Nancy, should I know that? I mean, but I never made that connection because when you think about their lots, right? They're almost all paved. I mean, there's very little green space, and he says, yeah, and he says the vice president who's over their properties, he said, yeah, he's fond of that, but he says, we've tried things all over the United States, and he says, we just trying to get something that's native and durable, but he would say, yeah, and he was telling me it.
They look so healthy everywhere you go.
Well, yeah.
Just around all the
Well,
lots of it.
Yeah, but, yeah, Cheryl.
One thing she said, are probably dated because, yeah, that's why they told her. They didn't fertilize things. That's probably was exactly what that is. The willow.
The desert willow. Desert willow.
There's a reason you said everywhere, because they don't have to cut through.
Yeah.
The McDonald's by me has the radio in there too, and they're out there by where you take your order. And just think about all those cars that drive by and exhaust.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're waiting and waiting. Yeah, I was driving through one of those pods, came in the window. And you're like, I was trying to read about, she really snuck out and grabbed it. And those seeds are stacked in them like poker chips.
I just love all these people that are gonna scream that, oh, these guys, they were talking about poker chips and land growing. This is gonna be great. So there are really these are four that are really hot that we almost all our Master Gardener friends have is Turk's Cap. Are you familiar with Turk's Cap?
She has got a church, have two little ones that went in, they went in with working with us, and kind of tossed them over in the corner. And she saw them 2 months later. And it was just-
They came, they're amazing. We had a particular home on our garden tour the first year I became in the Master Gardener in 2023. And I remember it's like the last week of February, and the garden I was working in, she said, yeah, I want to just take this thing off at the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, baby. And it's like, it took a deep breath and, we came back a month later and man, and then 2 months later, it was like, I'll show you,
I mean, it's a heavy equipment.
Lindheimer's muley is also all the Texas native grasses, but, I'm kind of fascinated with the native grasses. A little brief story. There's a lady a couple of doors down from me that we all know. Her name's Mary Morrow, and Mary is a master naturalist, and she has this incredible yard. I mean, gosh, she has 700 and some varieties of plants in that property. I mean, it's
Awesome.
an awesome place. So she connected me up with a neighbor over there who called her and said, I have some plants and you are welcome to them if you would take them, and maybe you guys could use them in some of your projects, And so I knew I'd go over there, and there were a few plants. There were only two types of plants. There was a variety, and there was Mexican feather grass, but there were 200 1-gallon containers of each. And the feather grass had been in a location where it was getting water every day from the irrigation system, and it does not like it just does not like water. And yeah, and so now I'm literally starving them, right? Trying to just keep them. And I noticed today there's some nice, beautiful green shoots. The variety was overgrown, and I just started trimming that back and dividing and cutting that And hopefully, I mean, I'm gonna nurse them, but hopefully they'll go to our plant sale next year. But the grasses are fascinating. The native grasses are fascinating because they are the ones that really exhibit some of the strongest tolerance to the heat extremes, especially drought. And it's amazing when you think about that, right? Because they get large, and I've been looking for some substitutes for pampas grass. A lot of people love pampas because it's kind of visual. It's got that nice white bloom up there, but it's not a,
I just admire those because I see it all around the city too, looking for it. Whenever it's cut back in the winter, I don't know what the deal is, but half the time you get half of it. And I have no patience.
yeah.
So there must be some tricks.
Well, the lady who donated this to us said her trick, I was remarking that hers always, I drive by her, this lady's house at least twice, almost every day. And she says, well, I do what I do with mine. I just cut them in half. I just divide them and take half of it and plant somewhere else. And she says, I fertilize them. I put some osmocote fertilizer on there, just a few sprinkles of those. And she said, I'm literally just cutting them in half and starting one elsewhere. I don't think I have that courage.
Are you talking about as opposed to cutting the?
Yes.
As long as she doesn't have the brown patch.
No. Mhm.
I started with mine. I have this, telescoping little rake that's got the real fingery.
Yes. Can you
And-
comb?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing to the feather. That's my treatment for the feather grass
Yes.
too.
It's better than chopping. You see these sparse, hairs, kind of like a little jambor.
Yeah. So Lenheimer's mealy is one of these that's really, really popular, that it can have these different appearances at different times of the year. And now, I heard a speaker, in the Native Plant Society, they have a program called the Native Landscape Certification Program. And it's 5 classes and plus, and it's really interesting. And the last class is on stewardship of native grasslands. And so I went through that program, but I went through that. I took the last class on the grassland in Burning, Texas, right? And it was so worth the drive down there because on this 115 acres, they had every component in this park that was Texas native prairie grasses. And it was just extraordinary. Little Blue Stem is another popular. Those of you are familiar with Lake Louisville, right? There is a Lake Louisville environmental learning area over there. And they are big. They have a lot of little blue stem on that property, and they're trying to propagate that and grow it and expand it because it's really good for helping to hold the soil. And they go out and do plant rescues on that property, which is pretty amazing. These on the flowering end now, as we kind of merge through this, these are the conventional things that you see. And no doubt you see things on here, I'm just suggesting you like. I see a lot of things on here that actually I like. But, and so yes, I agree they're conventional, but there are so many other choices that we have. One of the things about the native, the Master Gardeners, is we share a lot of plants. It's amazing what you can go to Cheryl's house. She's liable to send you home with a plant. The rose garden I was telling you about, we had 7 more days in the garden tour, and there wasn't a time that this couple didn't send people home with plants. They said, "Oh, you like some of that? Take some of that. Just dig it up and take it home." And so we're very sharing. We love passing things on that we like. Drummond blocks, gosh, and man, another master gardener gave me some of that. It's just doing absolutely wonderful. Blackfoot daisy, black-eyed Susan, one of the gardeners sent me a picture today and said, I think I have something called Rudbeckia. And she said, and it's I'm trying to think, it was sonata or something like that. She says, I think it was, is this what, and I'm like, you're asking me? I mean, I can tell you how to put water on it, but I can't tell you the. But, I mean, that, one of the things I think that's so important about when you look at that, these colors and natives are really vibrant and attractive, and they're very, very diverse. Not that you don't get that, out of non-natives, but I'm saying you can get that and still live in the oven, right? Or you can see those. And this, I was good to tell you, this is the most photographed slide that people ever asked, because it has that plant list, because, the quantity here of things that, and you see my favorite of fall aster down there on the bottom under the border plants. But there are some, and you see these names, I can feel the conscience of Ms. Moyer on me right now. She would always tell us when we talk about plants, she said, you need to take the botanical name with you when you go shopping, because there is lots of varieties. You can be easily duped, I think. I think she said something a little more. Yeah, that's very true. Another popular one that comes up that a lot of people ask about, we sold a lot of plant sale, that Mealy Blue Sage, the Henry Goldberg, is a really popular variety. It also is very attractive. Oh my goodness, milkweed. Milkweed is just so critical for our pollinators and things, but the lance leaf coreopsis, that's another really durable. And Gary, we had some of this Indian blanket in front of the administration building at Farrell's too. That's very robust and colorful, and it's in a situation where it pretty much gets full sun, and it's quite attractive as well. Jay feather. I had some obedient plant, but it was very disobedient. Well, number one, it likes to spread, but it's really, I never got much of the flower. It didn't flower much. And, I don't really exactly understand that, but I'm young in my gardening adventure to stop my adventure. Mexican hat, purple coneflower is another pretty popular component that you'll see. Blue mist flower on my compound.
I'm just saying that about blue mist. I have a spot that's grown. I will have 2-3 dozen 20 butterflies on the good time.
Yeah, and it's got this incredible, that green foliage, I think, is just so attractive, even when it's yet to flower. It's very attractive. And
Which one is it?
in the land.
Blue mist.
Yes, great blue mist flower. It's the one right up here in the top. But it's really, really attractive. There's a saying that says, first they sleep, or then they creep, and then they leave.
Oh.
And that's kind of the case. It's about a couple of mine. We had this propagation class when you're going through master garden training, and we had this propagation class, and it was really fun, but it was entirely chaos. I mean, I came home with 4 plants I didn't know. Didn't have a clue what any of them were. But I planted them and they all just really did really well. But one of them was my grapefruit flower. And it was just, oh,
Now there's some other growth, and it does spread, but
you can cut it back, but you know, I'm really crazy about the color of the vegetation, the lime, that kind of a little bit of a lime green, the foliage look, it's really attractive. And you get that off the whole season, you know, you can enjoy that kind of the whole.
it's a fall flowering plant, which makes it really important for pollinators because it blooms from a lot of the spring flowers.
Okay, and so there's a picture, I know it's hard to see, the Henry Goulburg, right there, the Salvia Grega, basket flowers, and is yet another one, I think there was another picture on this slide, oh, there it is, okay. Pin stemon, also, another real beauty. Texas Star Hibiscus, and I believe that Texas Star Hibiscus a Texas Superstar, do you know? Is that, it is? I was thinking.
And that was recent, I think, just.
Yeah, so, the one that Noel's mentioning, there is a program called, Texas Superstars. And these plants are trialed all across the state when they designate them. I mean, they gotta grow in the valley, they gotta grow in El Paso, they gotta grow in Harlingen, they gotta grow in Dallas, and they gotta grow in Overton, right? And they do these tests on these plants. And so anytime you sit, you can just go home and Google Texas Superstar, Texas A&M, you'll get a load of things, but it's.
Not all native, but they have.
But they're really well adapted here and they're very attractive. And you can have, not that we should talk about the monetary aspect of gardening, which can get very expensive sometimes, right? But because they are superstars, they have a propensity to live. Even if you are less than a caring, nurturing plant parent, they tend to work. Zexminia is another popular one. Spider lily, and the thing that I'm going to give you a resource here, and it's coming up shortly that you'll want to take a look. Texas Gold Columbine. I love my Columbine, but it's a short bloomer. It's just a very narrow window. I got it in one little place, and when it's blooming, I can just go out and look at it. I take pictures of it. I mean, it's really, but it doesn't hang around long. Doesn't really go too far. Sundrops is really popular, and it's very drought tolerant. That bright yellow color is really nice. Wine cups is certainly another popular. Those are both Liz's photographs. I know those are right out of her yard. One of those fire mailbox. And her fall asters are kind of a pale purple. Mine are really a little more rich. And I was talking to one of the plant scientists at AgriLife over in Plano a couple of weeks ago, who I just happened to bump into over there, and we were talking about that very issue. And apparently it may be that color may be triggered by something in the soil, a nutrient, particularly in the soil, that could impact that. Those PhD guys, they got an answer. I mean, sometimes I don't understand it, but
There's a lot of species of castor. I was over in Fort Worth. I bought one year at the plant sale, and it's different from the other one. And so when it blooms, the flowers are a little smaller, and they're all over the stem more.
Oh, wow.
And the bees, the butterflies, everything flock to those, and then you touch them.
Isn't that amazing?
It's a tiny,
A smaller flower.
yes, And it's the same color, and when they first come up, they look a little different, but then the leaves are the same as the old. Because I was like, I better get two of them. My little front bed there around the little balcony. And they did.
People are always asking about ground cover, right? Ground covers are pretty popular, and there's many of those that you might be, are probably in your landscape naturally that you may not recognize. I mean, a couple of those that always come to mind is one called frog fruit. And also yarrow. I have virtually all of these. Literally, I have a wonderful ground cover that I really like. It has these wonderful flowery sage that is in one particular area. And I hear stories that lyre can be very aggressive. Mine is very well contained. I don't know why,
Really?
But not having a sidewalk in front of it,
you have a, well,
but it was still occasionally.
yeah, and I've been at this property for six years, and I've never really had but one thing I do is I trim it back, and so it just literally sits there. But I have people tell me like, oh, it's just, you can't, you can't control it. I think
That's my experience. It's like,
oh, it
I
was
was
just,
like walking down the street the other day, I'm like, oh my God, it's weird. My neighbor.
well, I have another neighbor that I'm really, really close to, whose husband just passed away, and I was over there a couple of days, before I went up to Maine, and she has, some horse herd, and she didn't know what it was called, and she said, I started to just dig that up, and then I started looking like, well, nothing else grows here, and it's really, yeah. So why should I? And she said, no, that's not. And so I took her. I had a book, and I went over and we were looking at it, and she said, well, I should just leave that then, right? And I said, well, yeah, it's and she said, wow, water comes through here and it's in the shade. And I said, it holds the soil, it keeps from doing that. Frog fruit is also really, really, really popular. White avens, I don't have white avens, but I know of some. There's some white avens. There's a wonderful place in Louisville. If you're down at the Louisville, there's kind of their senior center, but it's called Thrive. Have you heard of that? And there's a beautiful plant walk down there you can go for free, and it's sustainably planted, and they use their rainwater, and it's a real interesting place. They're happy to. There's good pictures of. There's the lyre leaf right there, and there's those flowers. They're beautiful. The Moyers, both the husband and the wife, are really big in golden groundsel. And so I know I've been with them 2 or 3 times where that was for sale, and they would instantly buy that. They start it up. I don't know what they're doing with that, Cheryl, but it's very, very popular.
Is that sun or shade or both?
It's both. Yeah.
Rock fruit is both.
Yeah.
I've seen it in the ditch where there's a little extra water and it.
Yes.
In Sahara desert looking places, I'm like, how are you still alive?
And it's probably, I know we titled this to speak really around fall color, but, one of the things that was really clear is that you could have, with natives, you can have color literally all year round if you're judicious about looking at it. And it would be a shame if I didn't talk something about trees. I left this particular slide in here. One that we were talking about earlier that Nancy and I, we were talking about, desert willow right here. That's a popular, really popular, very drought tolerant, beautiful flowers, can pink to a red colored flower.
It's every parking lot.
Yeah, very, and it's, you know, people ask one lady, I hate, I'm gonna do it again, so please don't ask me about it. I said it was whiskey, and she said, what does that mean? And I was trying to describe, you know, whiskey is kind of thin, but the wind blows through. Yeah, thank you, no, but she said, I've never heard that word. I said, well, how long have you lived in Texas? And she said, 7 months. Well, welcome. Cherry, of course, red buds are always really popular for that. They're just first rate, great understory trees. Just get that first pop of spring, right? It just really is attractive on land. And I would add, they're fairly easy to care for. They're pretty forgiving. Which is, I'm telling you, the natives tend to be that way. Mexican buckeyes is pretty popular too. Eve's necklace. I was thinking about Eve's necklace today because there's a fire station over in Argyle, Station 511, where we planted some Eve's necklace, and it looked really, really bad for the first year. I didn't think it was going to make it, and we had to do a lot of amendments to that soil because the garden plot that they gave us to work in was where all the construction debris was placed for the building. And so we had 5 yards of expanded shell added in there, 5 cubic yards. And had to till that in. It was not a fun event. But the East Necklace, the second year, it really did advance really well. Possum holly is another popular one, and again, it's capable of doing a lot of feed for the birds. In my work life, when I was working, I had a facility. One of the facilities I cared for was down near Palestine, Texas. And if you know about Palestine, there's a lot of dogwoods down there. There's a big dogwood festival on the way, and it's really, the Texas State Railroad runs between there and us. It's really, really nice. They're quite beautiful as well. Here's the next one that I mentioned that one, and then the Texas mountain laurel, that's gaining a lot of popularity, and if it's trimmed and kept well, you can really keep that almost as a shrub, which is flame leaf sumac. I'm trying to think. Flame leaf. There's a lot of flame leaf sumac over at the Woodsville Drive location. They have a lot of natives in that park there. And it can also be trimmed and maintained, and it has beautiful fall colors as well. That's just really, really attractive. There's the Eve's necklace, and the Mexican plum is also another one. Okay. Shade trees, one of the things now, it's really interesting in terms of the oak family. A lot of the developments, and I expect it's really kind of no different out this way, a lot of the HOAs require oaks to be planted, because they're nice, big, sustainable trees. But so often, the trees they select are too large at their mature size for the lot. My daughter and son-in-law live over in Aledo, and they were requiring a red oak in there. They had 2 red oaks in a very, very small front yard, and Uri took one of them out. And so I went over there to the HOA and to their board meeting and talked them into another variety of oak, and that's the Mexican white oak up there. It's quite a bit smaller. It's more disease resistant. And once I showed them pictures and, got them things, they voted. Now they added it to their list. And issue that you have to, if you're living in an HOA and you're talking about native tree, Texas native trees, the size matters, right? They try to get things that are really big and they're oversized for the lot, which means it ends up and may damage the home foundation or the sidewalk or it's too large, and then you can't grow anything under it, which is becomes another problem. Just here's a picture of some of those. And we probably, I think there's an opportunity to do more work with the HOAs for native plants. Barbara has a beautiful native garden in the back of her property that she's planted and irrigated. Our home will be on the tour in 27. So come out to Argyle and see her beautiful place. And then Chinkapin Oak is another one. Big Tooth Maple is and mesquite. I've been a woodworker for almost building furniture for 50 years, and I've actually worked with mesquite. It's really beautiful. It's really hardwood. It's really hard to work with, but the wood is almost exotic looking. But the key is about just trying to have fun and enjoy what you have. The more natives you have, the more time you have. That's really true because you'll spend less time having to care for them. This particular area has got some website. You're welcome to get up and take a picture of this where you can read those website. This is one of the, and then I would just also point out to you that if you go to the Denton County Master Gardener homepage, we have a huge plant resources there, but also look at the Native Plant Society of Texas. If you go, they have an incredible database that's searchable, and you can search by color, you can search by time of year that you're looking for the bloom. It's really a hidden gem. It's only been in service about 7 months since they deployed this, and it's really, really incredibly in Native Plant Society of Texas. And this is just some additional website and links that you could look at. We have one member in our organization who volunteered for 15 years at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildlife Center. And Jessica Jackson is her name. And she has she's got a small lot up near Lake Dallas. It has beautiful Texas natives and a very, very small landscape. Just absolutely really, really attractive there. And there is something that we refer to as nice nurseries. And you see it listed up there. Nice nurseries are ones who sell native plants. And now what's crazy about HEB grocery store, right? That HEB is marketing and selling Texas native plants in the stores. Now they're increasing more of that. They've been big supporters throughout the state on a variety of projects, horticultural projects that employ Texas natives, which is really, 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 really nice. Okay, then here's an incredible bunch of resources that you could look at. We operate a help desk that Denton County Master Gardeners do, and when I'm searching or looking for a problem or looking for something, I almost always now just write Texas A&M and write my question, because there's Texas A&M is obviously very robust in the horticulture area, but yeah. All right. My gosh.
Thank you.
I went over a little bit, 53 slides.
Thank you very much.
Well, good. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to have there'll be another program next month.
Do you know when next month?
It'll be the first Thursday of the month, at the same time, so 6 p.m. And I don't have a calendar for me.
Can you know what date that'll be?
Yeah.
Yes, we will also have it on our regular, program brochure and all over our Facebook and social media. It will be October, right? Yes, October 2nd.
October second. Okay.
October 2nd.
October
Don't need
2nd.
to sign up, no, but just show up.
You can just show up.
Just show up. Well, I will be here October 2nd.
Welcome. Thank you again. So nice to meet you. Yeah, appreciate you coming out.
6 o'clock, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and take a cookie. You better take a cookie, but.
Oh, I'm gonna take a cookie, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'll be having them in my pocket.
Take a cookie, I'll take a
Nancy,
cookie.
I have had Nancy's cookies before and they
Oh,
won't.
you don't have to convince me to take a cookie, I'll take a cookie.